Hugh and Lynn Ellis barely survived the Eugowra floods by clambering to their attic and breaking through their roof to safety. But their newly renovated home was ruined.
The water was
that high, you can see the watermark.
Yeah.
The force of the water swept away almost everything. Their furniture, their dog, and precious heirlooms like Lynn's jewellery.
Sorry, I can't.
Now they've cleaned up as best they can.
All the gyprock needed to come off. We've shovelled out all the mud, we've hosed it all out.
It's exposed just how damaged the flooring is.
Yes. No, the floor is all over the place, unfortunately.
This renovation, finished just days before the flood, cost $350,000. They can't afford to do it again.
We just wondered whether we could get a little corner of the house habitable and live there, but long term, yes, we are in a quandary. We don't know what to do.
One coffee table, I think we've got.
They're trapped here because, like many people living in Eugowra, they were insured for storms, not floods.
Well, we were insured. The big question is, it depends on a hydrologist telling us whether it was a storm or a flood. If it was a storm, we're probably insured. If it's a flood, no.
Doesn't the storm cause the flood?
Yeah, well, you would think so, that's right.
Insurers classify an event as a flood when stormwater meets another body of water, like a creek.
If it was deemed a storm event, then some policies will respond. But more than likely, I expect it will be classified as a flood. The whole town is classified as a 1 in 20 flood risk. There really isn't a safe part of that community because the whole area is exposed and vulnerable.
The Ellises believe this catastrophe can't be confined by an insurer's rigid definitions.
This was just devastation beyond belief.
Yeah, it was a freak event.
And most people in Eugowra have paid insurance all their life, big dollars, and, you know, they've taken precautions and they've been prepared to wear the flood thing, but this was just not just flood.
There's an insurance crisis across the nation's most vulnerable towns. Increasingly, insurance is priced out of reach or simply refused. That's because of the frequency of events like November's New South Wales floods that caused an estimated $500 million damage.
For such a large event, we've only so far got $150 million worth of insurance claims in, and I expect that's largely driven by the fact that people were under or non-insured.
In Forbes, Lisa Madden took out flood insurance for the home she bought in 2020.
Because you need flood insurance to get a mortgage, don't you?
That's right, yes. Then that was stipulated with the bank that it had to be flood insurance as well.
But with forecasts of a wet winter and spring, her insurer, Budget Direct, had second thoughts.
April this year, they sent a letter and said that they will no longer renew my insurance because of the flood, but they wouldn't renew for the home or contents or anything, not just the flood.
In November, the water washed into her home.
Most of my furniture was ruined: the fridge, freezer, washing machine, dishwasher, beds, skirting boards, doors. I had to take all the interior doors off. I can't close the front door.
She still owes $150,000 on a house she can't live in.
Well, it's just not livable, the smell, the mould. Well, I think if you seek insurance for flood or whatever, and they allow you to have flood insurance, but then when a flood is on its way, they pull out, I just don't think that's right.
In a statement, Budget Direct said the decision to not renew Lisa Madden's cover was based on flood mapping data.
Her house lives in a 1 in 20 flood zone. There's a chance it will flood every 5 years. And I think the real question we have to ask is Why does government allow people to live in these areas, even though they're legacy housing stock? What more can we do to protect these communities from this sort of risk?
But she's been led into that risk in a way by the insurance company providing flood insurance to her. She only bought because she could get insurance. What responsibility does the insurance company have for providing insurance to her in the first place and then removing it so quickly?
Well, insurers have to manage their risk and understand what the challenges are, and we've seen even in this past year alone, in the 12 months to September, the losses in home and contents policies in this country.
The town's vulnerability has sent premiums rocketing, even for homes built to withstand floods, like Kylie Grayson's, which was elevated above the probable maximum flood level.
Very muddy, and because the increase in premium has been applied to the whole of the Forbes Shire postcode area, my premiums I haven't worked out the percentage, but they basically have gone from just under $2,000 a year to $8,844 a year. So I did the sums a little bit before. That's $37 a week to $170 a week.
The same insurance issues beset Australia's north, where tropical cyclones wreak havoc. This summer, the Bureau of Meteorology has forecast a worse than usual cyclone season, a looming disaster for uninsured residents.
People just can't afford it, and where they can, they just don't pay. It's absolutely critical, and but it's got to be affordable. And if that means to say we apportion the risk across the country, then so be it.
Warren Ench pushed for a backstop, a reinsurance scheme funded by the federal government that started this year. So far, insurance companies have been slow to sign up.
Over the long run, they're often very expensive, and we've got to ask ourselves the question, is it fair that everyone else picks up the price for some people who live in high risk areas?
Governments need to actually invest in insurance because of the market failure, and we're seeing it's now starting to emerge in those flood areas where people are just not able to get the insurance at all.
Back in New Gowra, any intervention in the insurance market will come too late for Hugh and Lynn Ellis. Amid the ruin and the uncertainty over what to do now, there is some good news. Lynn recovered some of her jewellery.
So this was just in the mud around the house?
Yeah, the opal one and the pearl from Broome, they were found in a tree.
And as for their dog Ben, last seen being washed away in the flood, he was found 2 days later.
Yeah, we thought he was gone.
We're very glad to have Ben back, and he's glad to be here too. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be good if he could talk?